Hey everybody, I'm Dave with Growing the Home Garden. Today I'm talking about this product right here. This is from Vego Garden and it is a self-watering tomato planter. And we're going to take it out of the box, see what's all included, and see how it gets put together. If you have ever gardened on pots on a back of an apartment building or your house or on a patio somewhere, you know that having a self-watering capability is probably a really good feature to have. So I'm curious to see how this thing works. Should also note that they sent this to me free to try, and there will be an affiliate link in the description if you are interested in purchasing one for yourself. So when you open the box up, one of the first things you see is this instruction manual, how to put it all together, how to use it. And it does include a trellis. And if you know you're doing tomatoes, then you're going to want a trellis to get it up there so you're not getting fungal disease problems, have plenty of airflow, and to get it up and get lots of light. It's all important. So they've got instructions. Do advise you to read that, although I know some people do not. And we'll open this on up here, start your planting journey, and let's see what's inside. And right away, we can just move that out of the way. And we have this container right here. So inside, got a little bit of packing material. We have a tube. I'm assuming this is something to do with the self-watering apparatus. We'll check that out here in a minute. Here in this box, here's the parts for tomato planter pot. It's got curved poles, straight poles, top poles, flat connector, straight connector, and wheels. And that's a nice thing. If you've got a patio that you have this on, that you want to be able to roll it around a little bit to get better light, better sunshine, or maybe you just need to move it to clean underneath it or something. But wheels are very useful to have, especially when you have a lot of soil in a container. Here's a view of the inside of the container. You can see here there's a couple of little sockets or depressions in it, a few locations here. There's some area right there for water to go through. There are two containers here, and this is the interior one. Let's pull it out so you can see the outside. So in here, it's just a large chamber. It looks like on one side we have a water valve that if we wanted to let water out, we would just take the cap off and flip it around, and then we could reduce the amount of water in case you overwater the pot. And inside, on the bottom, we can see how that all works right there. All right. So we'll put that all back as we had it, just like that. So let me take a look at the instructions and see what's next. All right, so I've unpackaged a lot of the parts here, and here's a little bit of what the wheels look like. You can see that it's got a nice little rolling wheel, and there's 4 of them. And then you've got lots of little connectors. These are going to be for the trellis system, and you can see the other parts here for the trellis. You've got some straight pieces, some that have a couple curves to it, and some that have a little bit more of a curve to it. So we'll do the trellis last, but the first step, I think, is really we need to go ahead and get these wheels on. All right, so putting the wheels on looks pretty simple. We just basically pop them into each hole. And they spin, they turn, any direction you need to go in. So that looks pretty good. Just like that. Now this is actually a water level indicator. If you look on that little top piece here, you can see little level markers on it. And so this will slide into this container in that hole right there, and you'll be able to visually see how much water you actually have in here. And let me turn it the correct way so it's facing this direction. But right there it says full, and then goes down here to refill. And then in this container here is where you would refill your tomato planter. And right here they have holes for the trellis in each corner, so you can have a nice sturdy trellis put over top of everything. Now this looks pretty straightforward. You're going to attach the little poles with the connectors, and so that you have a base level going all the way around, and then another at the top over here with these pieces like this. These would be the top ones that would connect into those plastic connectors. So here's the Vego Gardens rolling tomato planter, complete with the trellis and everything. It looks pretty sturdy. Now I will say that right now it feels very light, but that's mostly because there's no soil and no water inside here. So with the weight of the soil and the water, it should do a pretty decent job of holding in place. Just double check all these connections, make sure that you've got them nice and tight so that the trellis will be steady. And I'm going to go ahead and fill it up with some soil. So here we go. We got the whole planter filled up with potting soil. I didn't go all the way up to the top. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap at the very top because the tomatoes should have plenty of room down here to grow into the planter. And it's weighted pretty well. It's not going to go anywhere, especially when we get water put in. Two things we're going to do is we're going to get a tomato plant and put in here, and then we're going to fill it with water. All right, so here's the tomato planter, and what I've got here for a tomato is a black Krim. It is an heirloom variety, very delicious tomato. It's got a nice dark purplish colored skin, and it's just one of our favorites. But I love heirloom varieties. Now, as always, when planting a tomato, I always pinch off the lower leaves, get anything that's not going to be necessary, and then I will plant the tomato plant as deep as I can into whatever container, or if it's in the ground, as I can. So I will plant it down that deep right there. So we'll go on and do that with fresh soil. It is so easy to do. Tomatoes will grow roots all along the stem area, which is why you can do this, and it makes a much stronger plant. In fact, I'm actually going to pinch off that one last leaf right here, and voila, there it is. So to fill it up, I'm going to open up this little chamber here, and this will put all the water inside. I'm going to put a little bit of water right next to the plant so it can kind of get settled in and make sure it has some moisture right around it. And then the rest of it I'm going to put inside the container. This is not a container of vinegar. This is water that I just find these vinegar containers convenient to use for moving water around. So I'm going to look at the little gauge here. And you can see that indicator has gone up some, but not all the way up. It's a little bit under halfway full. So I can go get some more water and add some more to the chamber. So all in all, looks like we've got about 2 gallons or so that we filled up here into this container. And now it's showing as full right there. You can see that. So I'm going to do one more thing, and I always love planting basil with my tomatoes, so I'm going to get some basil seed, and I'm going to sprinkle on the soil surface of here. That way we have some basil that just decides to bunch up all around the bottom of the plant. I've noticed that with basil, I almost never have problems with hornworms. I might have a problem with somebody eating all my tomatoes, but probably not with the hornworms. All right, so all I'm going to do is take a little bit of this Genovese basil, and I'm going to sprinkle a few seeds kind of toward the corners of each, maybe a little bit on the sides, and let whatever comes up come up. And then on top of that, I'm going to take just a little bit of leftover water and do that so the basil seeds have some immediate water in them. So this came together very easily and really looks like a well-designed product overall. The only concern I have is the trellis. Is it going to be strong enough to hold my tomato plants? We planted a black Krim, which is a large slicing size tomato. They should be about that big around. And so when they're growing, they're going to have a lot of weight to them. And if we get a little bit of wind, is it going to be too much for the planter? We'll just have to play that out and see what happens. Hopefully it will stand up and be just fine. The base feels nice and sturdy, especially with all this water and the soil in the pot. It's not going to go anywhere with that. It's just the trellis I'm wondering about. And this actually would make a really great present for Mother's Day. So if you're out there and you're looking for something to give your mom for Mother's Day, and she likes gardening and likes tomatoes, this might be the thing. In fact, I'm going to take this one over to my mom here later this week. So I'm Dave with Growing the Home Garden. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more.